Lately, I started making a new small game in Java. In this game, you control a rocket, you have to avoid meteors and the wall that is following you. You earn points by passing by meteors and making loopings. You can also find power-ups to help you advance, but more on that later. It's been a while since I made a game without a game engine like Unity. The last game I made without an engine was the car racing game I made in C with CMake. Java feels way better than C because you can use object-oriented programming, but I wanted it to feel even more like Unity, which is why I started making a particle system. I had no idea what game to make until that point, but with particles the game should look a lot better. The particle system was very adaptable and allowed you to make different things very easily. It allowed you to quickly make new particles. It took some time to come up with the game idea I told you about before, but after some thinking, I started developing the rocket movement. I also made a parenting system which made it easy to connect the particles to the player. With this, I could easily add the main thruster, and in addition, I added side thrusters to rotate the rocket and made a scrolling background so the rocket won't leave the screen. Then I gave collisions to the objects in the background. I improved the visuals by adding a new particle system. The particle system took me a few hours to make, but it was worth it. I also added an explosion to the player, which was an easy task with my particle system. To limit the player's movement space, I added procedural generating walls to the top and the bottom. The walls are made out of circles which get teleported to the right side of the screen as soon as they leave the left side. This meant I had to add something to stop the player from going back. I also added player corpses to the place where the rocket exploded to indicate difficult places. By adding a scrolling background, it felt like moving forward, and the next thing to do was generate new meteors, spawning ahead of the player. I also changed the colors to a gray scheme to give it a cleaner look and not have to search for a color palette. The spawning system was easy to implement, but I first got some values wrong. I think otherwise it would be a little difficult to play. Changing the spawn rate fixed it, and by adding a score and a high score, the basic gameplay was complete. Until this point, the score was increased by passing meteors. A friend tested my game and said that it might be a fun challenge to make loopings while avoiding the meteor. I thought I could reward the players with points and it improved the game a lot. To finish all the necessary mechanics, I added a deadly fire or blood or whatever you think this is wall which follows you. The wall is also used to display the game over message when you die. I like that way of displaying the death message because it is involved in the game. I still had some time I wanted to spend working on this game, so I implemented some power-ups. First I made a simple shield that makes you immune to one meteor collision and destroys the meteor. I also added a second power-up which gives you a strong boost, similar to the boost power-up in Bad AI Bird. I finished the game by making my own sound effects with BFXR. They're not really good, maybe I'll have to watch a tutorial for that program, but I think you can quite easily make unique 8-bit sounds with this program. Then I improved the visuals a little more by adding a vignette, and I made some simple settings to activate or deactivate the particles because they sometimes cause a bit trouble. And I added the ability to change the frame rate and play or pause the game. With that, the game is basically finished. I like the gameplay of the game. I have made worse games in the past. It's quite fun to play. It still has some bugs and the canvas usually crashes randomly if you play with particles, but nonetheless I like it. Let me know what you think of the idea and the video. I could make this game in Unity and make it a time challenge for me to see how fast I can reproduce this in Unity. I think I could be able to make that in under 2 hours. It would be a fun challenge for me. Anyway, see you in the next video. Goodbye. Also, this is what the game looks like without screen clearing.